Day 19. The taking of Deborah... Logan?
Smith.
Deborah Logan? Is it Deborah Logan? I'm pretty sure it's Deborah. I'm not going to look it up. It doesn't matter. The taking of Deborah Logan, probably. The taking... Definitely. It's only called The Taking on Netflix. Or Sky, wherever it was who watched it.
Yeah.
Either way, the taking of someone. I'm joined again by Pete for today's...
Paul!
What?
Paul.
What? What did I say?
Pete.
And it's...
Paul. You keep saying Pete and it's Paul.
Are you sure?
Yes. So my driver's license and everything is definitely Paul.
You're certain that it's...
I couldn't be surer.
Why have you always introduced yourself to me as Pete then?
I've never done. I don't know where Pete's come from.
This is what I want for the jingle on my podcast. It's going to be called John Bolton's podcast. No, that impossible. There's no you in Bolton, but I guess that doesn't matter if you're singing it. And I'm a writer. See if you can work that in some way. Basically, just make me sound awesome. Cheers.
Now, we've not talked about this. We watched it quite late last night. Didn't get to bed until... I think it was pushing 2. Yeah, feeling it this morning. So we haven't talked about it at all, really. I don't know how best to get into this. Do you want to just go for it? You tell me what you thought of it, and I'll offer my bit or dissect
you
it.
want to sort of explain any of the premises?
Oh yeah, right. So the premises of the film. So they're making a documentary about mental, and they go to this Deborah. Her name's Deborah, at least we know that much. Go to Deborah's house to sort of video her deterioration, I guess. I don't really know what I can't remember.
Well, there was various cutaways to like medical professionals talking about what happens physiologically to someone as they deteriorate into Alzheimer's. And there was some reference to it making them more susceptible to like paranormal stuff.
Did they?
Yeah, it was kind of it was at the end of when we were talking about something, and they mentioned it.
Wow,
Some sort of thing about it making psychic defences lower or something like that. Whatever they said gave me that impression anyway, but I can't remember what was said.
So then it transpires that there was a man who was like a witchcraft man. There's a name for that probably. Had killed 4 kids or something and needed a 5th in order to become immortal or something. And he was basically using Deborah as a sort of vessel to either... I thought she was going to be the 5th one, and then it transpired he was using her to take a kid from hospital, and that was going to be the 5th one. I don't know. It's a whole big witchcraft thing. And then, so there's various little bits of paranormal stuff thrown in, and then it ends. That's the basic plot. What did you think? I'm saying nothing. I'm sitting on the fence at this moment.
I thought it was alright. In terms of the way that it was, I appreciated the sort of the found footage element, but it can't. I guess because it was like a documentary that was being made, I guess it kind of made it feel a bit less found footagey, and as though that this stuff was being filmed for a reason, sort of thing, like rather than just being like some stuff that happened and then it got found later on. Yeah, I guess it kind of didn't really feel as though it like if this was a documentary that was being made, then it kind of felt like at the start of it. It kind of had like a structure, like a documentary, and then it just sort of kind of descended into scenes. Yeah. It didn't really feel as though it didn't really feel as though it remained a documentary. It kind of felt as though it sort of then just sort of slid into sort of footage. Really. It was sort of like they'd abandoned making it, and they just sort of stuck the footage in to sort of try and bump the time up a bit. Yeah, I don't know. You say something.
I hated it. I thought it was terrible. Where to begin? I mean, partly what you said, it started off as a reasonably credible documentary, so you kind of understand that they're getting all these establishing shots, but then at the same time, in a documentary, you don't generally see footage of the people arriving at the place where they're going to be doing their interviews, meeting all the people and going, alright, I'm so this is the cameraman, blah blah blah. It's like, why is that in this? Why have you why have you even filmed any of that? The opening of that film, if it's going to be a documentary, most of the footage should just simply have been interviews with the mum, interviews with the old woman. None of the medical professionals that they interviewed felt like they were medical professionals being interviewed. They felt like actors pretending to be medical professionals being interviewed. It was totally unbelievable. Not one of the interviews with doctors and stuff felt like an actual doctor talking to them. It was so unnatural. Unforgivably so. The footage that they managed to find from like the 60s looked like it had been filmed last week on an HD camera. No attempt at all to make it look old. Well, there was some attempt to make it look old by the fact that the aspect ratio was like the small one rather than like HD, whatever that is. So that annoyed me. What else annoyed me? God, so much of it. They kind of shoehorned in little paranormal bits, like the bit where she stood on the floor and then she stood on the countertop, and there's no frames of passed in between the two. Yeah, was just like, it's not even creepy to watch. No, you think if you're going to have her doing
like a glitch in filming,
you just think that's just.
They used the standing facing away from the camera, not reacting to anyone talking to them. Several times.
And then there was the one where I said, one of them was going to turn around and do something with the camera, and then neither of them did. And that annoyed me. It's like, all you've done there is you've taken the bog standard fan footage, cheap, turning your back to the camera, and then, and not done it. Which is even somehow more annoying than when you do it. Yeah. Maybe it's because they did it so many times during the course of the film that when you're kind of expecting it and it doesn't happen, you're sort of left a bit sort of weirdly unsatisfied.
I'll tell you what I find with the found footage films in general. I like it as a concept, but I usually find that it takes me a long time to start giving a shit about the characters. I find that if I'm watching just a regular film, you have this thing of you're sort of drawn straight into the characters, whereas I guess with what you get with found footage is this thing that like you're joining a group, usually like a group of people who already know each other, or that have a history that means that they already have a relationship. So like it could be like with these documentary things, that they've arranged, so they've been in contact before the filming has started. Yeah. And they've arranged to meet, and so even if that's all the relationship they've had, but usually they have pre-existing friendships or that there's a history that's gone on, and I find that kind of makes me feel like, well, I'm watching this film that other people have kind of been doing for themselves, and it takes me a long time to start giving a shit about what's happening to them. I find sometimes if I watch one of these films, I'll get to the end and I think, I couldn't give a shit. Like the first Blair Witch, it didn't work like that for me. I kind of gave a shit right from the start, maybe just because of what it was, sort of thing. Whereas like Paranormal Activity, for example, it took me a long time to actually start giving a shit, because you're joining people when they're already partway through their journey. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and also the woman who was making the documentary, I'd forgotten she was in it. I think I said at one point I'd forgotten about her.
Oh yeah.
Now I get that maybe she's just doing all the videoing because it's her documentary, but then when you're a documentary maker, don't you? When she had two blokes with her, I would have thought they'd be doing all the videoing and she'd be on camera a lot more. It doesn't make any difference really, but I just forgot about it. The fact that it was all explained annoyed me, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts, like when I talked about Poltergeist. I like Poltergeist and Poltergeist 2 and even 3, but I don't like the fact that it's explained. I don't like, it's much scarier when it's just weird stuff going on and why is it all happening, what's going to happen next. The minute you start explaining it, it loses that. So the idea of a woman who's got Alzheimer's and demonstrating all the various symptoms of that, and then either it's actually she's possessed and that's why she's behaving the way she is, or the fact that she's got Alzheimer's makes her a sort of target for possession, whatever the reason is compelling. It's a bit compelling. But the minute they showed that footage and started talking about that bloke who killed those kids, and I was like, it's either him possessing her or that, immediately I lost interest. So I'm not interested now because you've explained it. Immediately nothing that happens is going to be frightening. So that irritated me, and I've talked about the footage. There was also a lot of times when the camera cut from one shot to another, and there was like this weird video noise you used to get on VHS tapes. It's like when you're recording something and then you stop, and then you record another thing, and you watch it back, and there's that transition between the two recordings. You get like a load of noise and static and stuff, and then it sort of tracking gets sorted out, and it goes into the next recording. Why is that in there? Because clearly all the cameras they're using are HD, either potentially HD tapes, which I'm pretty sure don't do that, or more likely memory cards, or even like a little hard drive inside the camera, like you can get. So why is that there? So it could only have been done post-production, which is just, why would you do that? It just ruins it. So that annoyed me. I mean, I was annoyed anyway for most of this, because it's another night of a film that, well, most of the ones I've criticised a lot during these podcasts, films that are just simply fine. I'm sick of horror films that are just fine. I watch it, it ends, yeah, it's alright. That's not enough! It's not enough, mate! Jesus! So, like, when I watched Race with the Devil, which we've talked about in the past, I remember we were doing some gardening, and we were talking about horror films, and you were talking about one that you remember watching, and there's only one that you'd ever watched that was, like, reasonably had an effect on you. And I instantly knew which one it was, and I said, it's Race with the Devil. And we'd obviously we'd potentially even both seen it when it was on Channel 4, whenever it was back in the day. It's just a brilliant film from start to finish. It's well acted, it's well scripted, everything that happens is interesting, it's well paced, it's creepy. Even when you've seen it multiple times like I have, it's still brilliant. It's not enough anymore for a horror film just to be fine. It was alright, this bit was quite good. I'm sick of it. And that wasn't even that. That wasn't even fine. That was just shit. From beginning to end. Premise was somewhat interesting. Oh, Alzheimer's. Because I thought, my understanding, what I knew of it was very little. So I assumed when I went into it, she's got Alzheimer's. But I think what's going to happen is actually it's going to transpire that all of these symptoms she's demonstrating are in fact possession. Yeah. But it stole so much from The Exorcist to the point. I mean, I can't remember exactly, but like her going for medical tests and it transpiring that they can't find anything wrong with her or whatever, or this, it's just, this hasn't really happened before. It must just be another symptom of this, or this has happened more quickly than we'd expect. Was done in The Exorcist, but done better. Here's a character, get sympathetic towards her because then we're going to start messing around with her and it's going to disturb you. Was done in The Exorcist and done better. Linda Blair was a much better actress and protagonist than the woman in this. All of the characters, apart from the woman who was possessed, were terrible for my money. The mum was alright. The old woman was alright. All the rest were poor. The medical professionals, as I've said, were terrible. The ending, what the hell was that? It started off a documentary, and it's all very serious and all very creepy, and what's this? Oh, what was that? Oh, I don't know. So this, like going through these tunnels, and an old woman eating a girl's head. What the hell was that? It's like two films tacked together. One that was somewhat alright, one that was terrible, and then a bit in the middle to hew them together, which was just dismal. So that was basically my issue with it. I didn't mind the start. I didn't mind the old woman. I didn't like the way the story developed. I didn't like the fact it was all explained. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the transitions between shots. I didn't like most of the other characters.
What did you think of the kind of gory attempts at making the woman like there was the bit with the weird scaly
again back. Exorcist, all of the stuff in that film that was halfway alright they just took from The Exorcist and didn't do a very good job of it.
That bit where it was all by torchlight and like her head went down her chest or something weird, and then the weird jaw thing, stuff like that annoys me. It's like I know what they're trying to do. It's like they're trying to sort of like tantalise you by, you can't quite see what it is. You can see the human figure distorting, but you can't quite see what it is. But that annoys me a lot. I want to see what it is. It doesn't just sort of tantalise me that, oh, what a brilliant bit of filmmaking. They were trying to tantalise me there. I just think, no, that's annoying. I don't know what you were getting at with that shot.
I would say, what a brilliant bit of filmmaking is something that you could not easily say about this film. It was just, I mean, admittedly, it's walking on quite precious, hallowed territory with me, being as it is basically The Exorcist, or an attempt to do The Exorcist but with an old woman instead of a kid. So I'm always going to be quite protective of its source material. And it is source material, mate. They nicked loads.
But on that subject, do you think a film with an old bag as a subject has something of an uphill struggle to compete with a film about a child. With horror and stuff. Like Peril, when you've got...
Just my PA offering us a cup of tea in the studio there.
Yeah.
I'll say studio. Lounge.
You say PA?
Yeah. Get off. Sticking to that.
Do you think a
Listen
film...
back to it.
Do you think a film with an old baggage
Yeah.
as a subject can ever compete with a film
Oh, yeah.
with a kid? Like when you have an old person at Peril, are you ever going to care for as much what happens to them? I mean,
No.
the sort of Alzheimer's thing is something that's obviously it's one of those things. The more you think about, awful, absolutely awful. But I don't know how well that kind of sits for me in terms of like kind of thinking like it's kind of too emotive a subject for me to be able to lose myself in it and kind of think like people kind of under attack you can kind of deal with. But kind of that something like Alzheimer's. I can't explain what's in my head.
Right.
No,
I think is the answer. Or yes.
Or yes, whichever.
Yeah, whichever you
Can
think.
we cut this bit out? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
making it sound like
Or I'll just
Don't-
say everything you said except this bit. This will be your only contribution.
I actually can't remember what happened in the end.
In the end, they go into some caves or something. They go into a house that is then also some caves. I don't really understand that. Might be like a mine shaft or something. And then the old woman was trying to eat the little girl for some reason. I don't know why. And then the mum got killed. Did she? I think.
I don't know. I don't remember.
And then there was a policewoman there. She got shot or something. And then they burnt the head. Was there a head in a bag or something? I don't know. Head in a bag.
Actually, can't remember.
Burnt the head in the bag. That burnt, and then no, the mum wasn't dead because the mum was comforting the old woman at the end. Was it? And then it cut to her on a stretcher. Or was that earlier on? And then it cut to the little girl that had cancer. The ghost of that killer guy had presumably inhabited her and got rid of all the cancer. Maybe that's a solution for scientists to consider.
Turn up for the books, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it, found footage. It's very easy for a found footage film to end up being shit. And this one was, sadly. No stars. Not that I award stars. Maybe I should start awarding like a star rating system. Because maybe it helps to quantify my feelings. Because I might ramble on for a bit. And the end of it you think, well, you didn't like it very much. But that's not really I can't do anything with that. So yeah, maybe I should start giving things ratings. Nothing out of 5. Out of 5, do you reckon? 10? Nothing out of 5 or nothing out of 10 or nothing %. Depending on how you want to.
I think 5.
Out of 5. Right, then nothing out of 5. Mate.
2.
2!
No, 1. No, nothing.
Good job. Nothing out of 10 overall. So nothing %. Brilliant.
A shoddy.
Even that seems too much.
Come back soon for the next episode of John Bolton's podcast. What horror movie will he be reviewing? Who knows? Who cares?